Let's Shoot a Feature Film in One Day is our ongoing journey that you, yes you, are now a part of. I'm independent film director Grant Pichla, and if you're new to the show, it's best to start at episode 1. However, for a shortcut, jump ahead after the first few, right to episode 11, and continue on from there. Now, let's continue where we left off in crafting a story with your audience input that can be shot in 24 hours. That's when he'll mentally think, I'm going to let Joni be with him, and I will end the wings. She's right. And then what? Then he just takes the scanner and goes, taser you, and she's like,
Well, maybe she allows him to get closer to, like, proximity-wise. Maybe she allows...
He's got to fake it.
Again, he's kind of faking it, but at the same time, he's agreeing with her and not so much faking it, but, like, agreeing with her but going in a different direction with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But anyways, in that moment where us as the audience, we think she's winning, she thinks she's winning.
Yes.
So it appears as though she's winning, and they're just getting closer and closer in proximity because she's confident and knows that
whole
whatever.
Superior, inferior
and
moment.
When he says, like, some final line of, like, you're right, we do need to end the wings, and I'm like, wow, or whatever. Something like that. But I think their proximity the distance between them can certainly, like, lessen during that, like, monologue or during that
I agree.
interaction. If that's what you're asking. I think that's what you're asking. And then so it just ends with him doing what he needs to do for her to, like, become useless and get arrested or whatever.
But what I don't like about that is she's, like, yelling at him, and she's getting closer and closer, and everyone in the audience is going to be like, just zap her. Like, she's getting closer.
Yeah.
But if she kind of convinces him, like, just put the gun down or put the zapper down, and he does, and we're all like, oh shit, he's gone.
Yeah.
I think if he fakes it for 10 seconds or whatever, and she's like, oh, you're such a good boy, and she, like, kisses him on the forehead, and she's like, now let's go down, and I think Benny will still let you be the best man or something like that. Then she can turn, and then he's like, ah! Pff.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
And it's almost like maybe...
Well, we don't have to go this route, but maybe he's just... maybe he's not the one that zaps her. Maybe Chaz... Yeah, maybe Elmo's sneaking up from behind, and he's just kind of keeping her attention or whatever. Don't have to go that route. But.
Yeah, no. You kind of want the main character to step up to the plate. Yeah, because otherwise it would just appear to the audience that he got burnt and Elmo just did it, and he didn't learn anything, he didn't do anything.
I see what you're saying.
But I do think that if you could reverse mind control, it would be like reverse psychology. It'd be like, I do want to be the best man. I approve of this.
What if...
or something, you know?
What if he actually gives her the weapon?
Yeah, he has to.
But we end up finding out that it wasn't the real weapon. Like, he has the real... Like, I'm talking about,
this
like,
is where
Die
we just
Hard.
get into the A-story shenanigans of twists. No, there can be, like...
You know, Die Hard, where he's got the gun taped to his back?
Oh, no, I haven't even seen it.
You've never seen Die Hard?
I hear it's one of the all-time greatest written scripts ever.
Die Hard.
I know. It's Christmas. He's got to go talk to his
sad.
wife.
So anyways,
he calls the police, then he doesn't want
in the
the police.
climax, I'm going to go ahead and ruin it because this movie's existed
Fine.
longer than both of us. Yeah. You should have seen it by now.
Spoilers.
But at the end, he gives up his gun. He has one gun left. It's the final showdown, him and Hans. Hans has his wife with a gun to her head. He says, give up the gun or I'm going to shoot your wife. And he gives up the machine gun, and he puts his hands to his head like this.
Oh,
and,
slick.
And Hans is just kind of like, you know, like, what did you say to me before? Like, yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. He reads back the line to him. And he starts pointing the gun at Bruce Willis, and John McClane just kind of starts laughing at the line that Hans has regurgitated to him. And in his, like, confident laughter, Hans starts laughing like, oh, what an idiot. I'm about to shoot you. And you're just laughing. And, like, the wife has a look in her eyes like, the fuck is John doing? Like that. And they have this beautiful reveal of, like, the camera's behind his head and it just slowly tracks down. You see he's taped his gun with one bullet left to
one
his
piece
back,
of duct tape,
and he's just like, Holly! And he yells her name, and she yanks away from him, and he grabs a gun and shoots her. So you could do something that route where, like, he gives her the gun or gives her whatever. She thinks it's the actual item, and it turns out it's not even. It's just a fucking toy.
Well, in that whole rant, I've already thought of a solution.
There you go.
See,
That's why
for the audience at home,
is for you to find solutions.
Kevin walked in today and did not even know. He hadn't even listened to some of the episodes. He didn't even know where we were in this story. But
I'm way behind.
But he's already using his vast knowledge of movies that I haven't seen to like take this where it needs to be. So this is something that could happen.
I hope I hope they hung out with us for the last half hour to get to this solution.
Picture this. We give the CIA agent earlier more dialogue. He hands them 2 guns, 2 scanners. They're small. They're like the size of a beeper or a phone. And he gives one to Elmo and one to him. Or no, maybe he gives one to Chaz and the other he keeps. And he's like, let's go do it. He gets thrown in the closet or something, but somehow he leaves his scanner behind. Chaz gives it to Elmo and says, Elmo, we've got to do this. They go through some scenes. Elmo gets to the point where he's like, you're just in it because you don't want him to get married. It has always been about you and the dumb wanks.
Yeah, he can like set it down.
Yes.
Chaz gives it a glance.
I'm leaving this.
We cut to the next scene. Chaz shows Chaz
exactly.
That's basically how they do in Die Hard. He's looking at his inventory of weaponry and he pulls out his handgun. And he looks. He's like 2 bullets. This is useless. And then he like next scene ends and he's like got the machine gun. You think like, oh, he doesn't have that pistol anymore or whatever. It's not quite like that, but similar. Something like that. I can't believe you haven't seen Die Hard.
I feel like
we've had this
in
conversation.
Screenwriting podcasts, Die Hard is way up there. It is highly respected.
It's really good. That's why I hate all of the sequels. No, not all of them. Actually, the third one is fantastic, and I enjoy the second one. The second one, the action is really ridiculous, and then all of the recent ones, 4 and 5, are cartoons, and I hate them. Because the first one is super grounded in reality. Like, he gets fucked up. There's one scene that I think is bullshit.
Well, they said when they came out with like Die Hard 2 and 3, they were literally just like, give us any script, we'll change the guy to John McClane, and he's going to be, this is a new adventure. Like, they weren't even writing original
2 is
like sequels.
2 is enjoyable. I enjoy it. But it is like, it's definitely not as grounded in reality. All of the action scenes are him like lying in the middle of the floor, like just doing cool moves to have bullets ricochet around him, which is ridiculous. The third one's, again, grounded in reality. And really, I say top notch, but we've gone off the rails again. So let's bring it back in.
Okay, so we basically have made it through a bunch. We can pretty much start our 15 beats.
Nice. When this is done, Nick Potter, you need to review this on the, was it Smithsonian's?
Film Smiths. Although Film
Not Smithsonian's.
Film
that's
Smithsonian's
like a museum, right?
Cool.
The Film Smithsonian's.
Yeah, that's
we should create a competing website. But seriously, Nick, if you don't review this, I'm gonna be very disappointed. I want a special guest reviewer. I want Dr. J's opinion added.
We got a completely new viewer out of nowhere.
Really?
He commented on YouTube. He was watching the second episode, which I talk about like all the other.
I assume you tag the shit out of this. So like that's how people find it. Like you tag the YouTube or whatever.
I don't even know how to do tags. I mean, I do the keywords or whatever.
So you just stumbled across it.
Yeah, but it was the inspiration.
That's what I meant.
The inspirations episode where I talk about like Birdman, Victoria, all these movies and TV shows, and he just wrote, "This is gold." I'm like, dang, dude,
that's cool.
That's all it takes. Like, I'm glad someone found something useful.
That's cool.
Okay, so we've kind of got our stuff figured out, but I just want to quickly review these like story steps and writing things. So just to get it out there so it's fresh in our heads. In a conspiracy, you have the inciting incident, usually a murder, or they find something, a document, or they see someone being hypnotized. Then you have a first threshold. It's where the hero gets close to messing with the plot, but he gets pushed back by some early levels of, demons or henchmen. Could be the bridesmaids, or it could just be, whatever. Then you have the investigation stage, which is when your hero is aware of them, which he's aware of Blossom, but Blossom's not necessarily aware of him yet, figuring this out, or at least she doesn't consider him a real threat yet. It gives them enough time to collect the most important thing, which is information. And obviously this is where you start to get exposition. Then you have the deeper stage where they finally make an active move against the hero, the bad guys do, and they crush him.
You mean despair stage?
Oh yeah, sorry. Despair stage. This is where the mentor dies, his companions abandon him, which we talk about. What's his nuts leaving? Like, dude, this whole time it's been about you. I've been just following you, but blah, blah, blah. Then you have the hero recovering stage in the final battle of wits, and it usually has a physical confrontation added to it. His friends also return, and then finally you have an ending. Easy peasy. The beat sheet that we're going to do is much more detailed. Then you have writing the investigation. You've got these three things: the document search, the person search, and the location search. So if we ever get to a moment in the story where we're like, well, this is becoming too easy, like, oh, they stop her there. Oh, they take her to the basement. Oh, they do this. If things are just kind of like flowing too fast without any like conflict, you can insert these things where they find an audio tape with something playing on it and they're like, that sounds like Alien. Or, and how do we figure this out? Or maybe they realize they have to find a person or a location, and maybe that person is the pizza guy. Maybe it's Blossom's fake dad who turns out to be a CIA agent who's been brainwashed for her to spite him or something. Or it could be location, like they gotta go to that bedroom and find blah blah blah, or find a room in the house that holds blank. Those are three great tools for conspiracies. Then you have things like red herrings, which are, oh my god, the mom's got these special scissors, and then you find out, the scissors are nothing. Or you think, holy shit, it's not Blossom, it's her mom. And then you found out, no, it's not the mom, it's really Blossom, or whatever. And then lastly, you've got MacGuffins, which are, here, take this taser thing, you need this to tase her in the end, it'll turn off her implant, she'll be rendered useless. Those are vital to save the A story, but they're not vital to save the B story and the overall thing. Lastly, you can outsmart the reader with genuine intellectual superiority, or outsmart them with deliberate incoherence and ambiguity, or you can outsmart them with constant suspense to prevent the reader from getting too deep too fast. Then we have types of attacks. Blossom or any of her henchmen or anyone in this story could use murder, kidnapping, mass destruction, human sacrifice, human experiments, illegal business practices, blackmail, deception, cover-up, drug trafficking, water and food supply tampering, eugenics, orchestrating wars, false flag operations, or jaywalking. I don't know how jaywalking is an attack, but it must mean something that it doesn't. So those are just worth understanding. But we are not here for that. We are here for the 15 beats, the magical beats. And I'd rather not write anything down. I'd rather just talk it through,
chat,
and figure it out.
Let's see what happens, man.
So after all that, we know so much about these characters in this story.
Let's see if we can pull it off in 45 minutes.
We can do it. Okay.
And go. I imagine you put in like a little timer.
Yeah. And I'm going to read this too because it's very inspiring.
Get it, man.
All movies must be about a transformation of a character at its heart, from the caterpillar to the butterfly. And each scene tracks his or her journey in that progress. All of these beats are designed to do what the entire transformation machine is set up to accomplish, which is force change in the hero and in us, the audience. Lastly, the theme of the movie must appear strongly in a handful of these beats, which I've noted. So the A story of the movie is the hero's tangible goal, something he physically needs to get or do. It's what he wants. The B story is his spiritual goal or emotional goal. It's what he actually needs to be a better human being.
Okay.
So, yes. So, for our opening image, a visual that represents the struggle and tone of the story, a snapshot of the main character's problem before the adventure begins. What do you got?
First thing that comes to mind is probably super cliche, but just maybe the main character Chaz looking at an old picture of the Wanks and thinking about how great it used to be, or something like that, and reflecting on like, man, I can't believe he's getting married tomorrow. The Wanks is dead, like something like that. Again, that might be super cliche.
And if the story starts with them coming from a rehearsal dinner or the church or something, and they're all kind of like getting out of cars or something, or maybe it starts in a car, depends on how wild we want to get with our one shot or whatever. Maybe he's kind of commenting on, 4 of these groomsmen were all in the Wanks, and none of them are in it anymore. It's just me and Elmo.
No, yeah, it was me, Elmo, and Benny. Now it's just me and Elmo.
Yeah. And it has to represent the struggle and the tone. So the struggle is, well, my friends aren't in the Wanks, and they're not single anymore like me.
One kind of way to maybe help show that, like, the isolation or separation or whatever is maybe that now that they've arrived back from the reception, as you said, maybe everybody goes into the house, but, like, Elmo and Chaz hang out outside to, like, have a cigarette.
Yeah, I like it already.
And so they're, like, separated.
Yeah. And this gives them the opportunity to have the catalyst moment when they look through a window while everyone else is busy. Cool. So I'm assuming they're arriving at Benny's home, which he shares basically with Blossom, even though they've only been together for a short period of time, which we can also kind of mention in the opening scene.
Totally.
So we're basically on to number 2, setup. So expand on the before snapshot, present the main character's world as it is and what's missing in their life. So if I were to say what's missing, I would almost say, like, because he's so dedicated to being a bachelor, he's I don't want to say like he's missing a female companion, because we're not going to give him one in the end. Mm-hmm. But maybe he's just missing true camaraderie. Maybe he just bosses Elmo around, but all his wank friends are going into the house while they aren't. Mm-hmm. And by getting rid of this notion of the wanks, it opens him up to getting married. Maybe there's some rule that, like, as long as the wanks is alive, one person must not get married. Or, the wanks can't exist if at least one of them isn't a bachelor or something.
Well, you're going down the road of, like, he can always repopulate the wanks. You know what I mean? Like, you can always just get new wanks.
Something.
Open auditions for the wanks.
Well, I'm just trying to think, like, what's missing, and it'd be all these friends that I'm going to go on a limb and say most of these groomsmen who, let's say, are already married and used to be in the wanks but kind of left, don't really think all that highly of the wanks anymore, and they don't think all that highly of Chaz because he's so on one end of the spectrum. And maybe their influence from their wives and their families are just like, you grew up from that shit. You don't need to still be in these clubs or whatever.
Yeah, maybe in this moment he's basically showing that, like, what he wants is to get the wanks, and rather than bring all the old wanks back together, it's just like, man, we just need to restart the wanks. And later realizes, like, wait, what he needs to do is just evolve like his friends had.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. So that's what's missing. The theme stated. So this happens on page 5 during the setup. It's what our story is about. It's the message, the truth. This drives the whole movie. It's usually spoken to the main character around minute 7 to 10, or at least it's said in their presence, but they don't totally understand the truth, or at least not until they have some personal experience and context to support it, which they get through this movie. And it ties into the lesson that the hero will learn in his B story.
So what's our theme, Grant?
Our theme is grow a pair, grow up, man up. It's all that, which is not very concise, which is a bad thing. But if it were one of those, I would say...
I always leaned that it was grow up.
Because grow up pair is basically like, don't be scared. Don't be a wuss.
Yeah.
Which isn't really that. It's more like you've got to grow up and man up is also like don't be a wuss. So I guess grow up. Which is such a sad story because I love Peter Pan. And that's like don't grow up. Like I'm now making the antithesis of Peter Pan. It's like kill your childhood dreams.
What do you like better, Peter Pan or Hook?
Hook.
Dude, Hook's so good.
I think Hook...
It's brilliant, man.
Spielberg's biggest flaw with Hook is stating that Hook was a flaw, because he should have never said that.
No, that's a great
He
movie.
may have had bad experiences, but man,
I think it's amazing.
I love the score, I love the writing, I love the symbolism, I love everything.
I busted out back to the 90s and was watching that the other day, and I love the episode where they talk about Hook, and I was just watching it and watching the little scenes they're talking about, and I remember editing that. It was like basically a movie review segment.
Man.
Fucking love that movie, man.
So if the theme is stated, it's got to come from Elmo, right? If it doesn't come from Elmo, it would come from
Yeah, it couldn't come from Chaz.
Right,
And
it
if
has to be
they're standing
spoken to
outside and
Chaz.
about to see the inciting incident
This is
or the catalyst.
One thing I really want is the original wank to be at this party. The guy who started it and left it. And they kind of recruit him in the process. And he like comes out of like, it's almost like the ex-cop who comes back into cop world.
Is it kind of like...
Not to take over the story.
Frank the Tank.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, no, I got a kid. I got a house, a mortgage.
Frank the Tank.
And they like bring him back. So because that character could be so fun.
Yeah.
And maybe we don't know he was an original wank yet, right? So for the sake of this, let's call him Frank for now. But he could say it.
Chaz and them know he's the original wank, though, right? Okay, so they could just allude to him and be like, there he is, man, look at him. And then we see him, and like we see a guy that's just a goof, and they're like staring at him like he's a god. And he's just like dribbling mustard on his shirt, eating a sandwich.
Oh my god,
there he is,
that'd
man.
Be so great. Or he's got like
look at him.
He's got like a baby bottle in his back pocket, and he's like, oh crap, man, I forgot to leave this with the babysitter. And he's got like a world of new problems and I think because he could state the theme, or he could bring up. So they could all like go into the house except these two, and they're standing outside, and all of a sudden third wheel rolls up real fast, like, sorry guys, and he's like sweating. I could just see Dave killing this role.
Oh yeah.
But it could be anyone, and it could be an older gentleman, or it could be, he has to be older than the main hero.
Yeah,
by 5 years or more. To show he's like,
I think it makes sense that he'd be like 4 years older. That way it's like a senior freshman thing.
You think that little bit of time?
I just think like if it started in high school, it would make sense that like they were freshmen in high school and he was a senior, and they're like, look at this guy, he's got to figure it out. And maybe now they're not looking at him at the start of the film as like, there he is, man, what a god. Maybe they're looking at him like, what the fuck happened to him?
Right.
Look at this pitiful character.
Because either Chaz could say like, that guy used to be a god and blah, blah, blah. And either he, as he walks up and says like, come on guys, I brought potato salad.
Elmo could even be like, man, we all got to grow up though.
I know.
Like, could say something like that's how you get him to say it.
Because is Elmo our B story who kind of pushes it? Or does our B story kind of come in from multiple characters as a swath and kind of supports it? Either way, he's going to get pushback all throughout the night. Like, who cares about the wanks, man? Like, is that all you talk about? Like, we got cars, we got homes, we got jobs, careers.
Bills, bro.
Yeah, like, yeah, grow up, dude.
Gotta eat, son.
People are going to say that. So,
no, is there any reason to...
But I'd love if that original wank comes running up. Guys, I brought potato salad. Come on. The party's inside.
Genie made
He's got something. Like, Genie made it. And they're like, yeah. So maybe he could be really fun.
He's got stains on his shirt. From like,
if he's a dick, he'd be like, you gotta grow up sometime, dude. Like, forget the wanks. I don't care if I create it. He could be like that. But he could also just be really fun and not the guy to say it. But Elmo could say it.
Yeah, I'd rather... First impression would be I'd rather that he be a little more lovable and goofy, a little just more than a dick.
Yeah, I agree. Because then when they convince him to come out of retirement, because he could just be like, oh, I don't know, guys, I don't know, like, and then like,
oh jeez, man, oh jeez,
they're all like, seriously, man, put it all out tonight, and he's like, oh boy, I don't know, and maybe I don't know what that guy will do, but. So setup continued. We don't really need to do that. Catalyst. So this is the moment where life as it is changes. It's the telegram you receive, the act of catching your loved one cheating, allowing a monster on board the ship, meeting the true love of your life, etc. The before world is no more. Change is underway. So this happens around page 12. And I always envisioned it as them looking through the window on a first floor room, which I know in my home, since this is the established shooting place, is there's a computer room that's right there, but I can make it into whatever it's got to be for that weekend. Or there's, a kitchen. There's a logical...
You can honestly have it be something as, not to cut you off, something as weird as just the garage door is open and they're like in the corner of the garage. Like, it doesn't have to be a window, right?
Correct. Yeah.
I know you have the basketball hoop in the driveway. Like, maybe they're just kind of chilling by the hoop and like, what the hell's going on in there? And like in the shadows of the garage, she's doing something
true,
sneaky. But I mean, the window thing makes a lot of sense because the biggest problem with the garage thing is like, why wouldn't they notice them?
Yeah, the window thing's nice because where my computer's set up, I can look over in this real big window, and it's actually just barely head level of someone if they walked by, actually a tall person. So in theory, he could kind of see something and then jump up and like look around. And I don't know if Elmo has to be short, or actually height doesn't even matter. But a logical route from my house is like basketball hoop, go around the back, look through the window, and continue up into the sliding door.
So you wanted to go a route where Elmo doesn't see it, right? He has to take his word for it. Maybe it needs to be a window that requires Elmo to like give him a boost on his shoulders. So Elmo's on the bottom. Like they see like, what the heck are they doing there? And like, give me a boost, and he's up there, and that way Elmo has to take literally his word for it because he can't see it. Yeah,
I like that. And then
I don't know if you have that, but we could fake that.
So the life as it is changes moment. In your opinion, what should he see? And should we see it too?
Well, I like the idea of it being vague enough. It's got to walk a fine line of being sketchy enough to be like, what are they? What is she doing? But also not revealing enough to be like, I'm sold on it. Like I'd rather the audience be teetering. Too. You know, like they're just fucking standing there or whatever. You know, whatever.
This is like.
Like maybe she's doing something kind of sketchy and then walks around him, and in doing so, turning to Benny. Now her back is to the window. So what started as sketchy, we only saw the first half of it.
Yeah.
And maybe now her back's to us, and then she walks away, and he's got like a dead face now or something.
And maybe at that point, Chaz is kind of play-by-playing, mouthing it like, dude, it looks like blah, blah. And he's like, at some point, we have to just listen to that. As it like cuts to Elmo's reaction on the ground, we're just hearing that, and we're kind of thinking, is he blowing this out of proportion?
Yeah.
Because I think that's perfect. A lot of parallels to Gone Girl in that I would love the first third or first half to be like kind of discovering, kind of like, is she hypnotizing? And we're like, I mean, obviously we'll get to a point earlier because we'll start talking to Benny. They'll go confront Benny and they'll say, who was the hottest girl in third grade? And he'd be like, Stacy, whatever. And they're like, no. And so then we're like, something is up. Something's weird. And then they start they're like at the party and they're like kind of spying on her. Like, what's she doing to that guy over there? And then like maybe they notice someone's like talking to a plant or something.
Rather than hottest girl in third grade, you could go, there's an old episode of Friends I love where Brad Pitt's co-starring. And Brad Pitt in the mythology of Friends was this fat kid, I think, with Ross, and they were friends, and they had the No Rachel Club in high school. Nice. And it's like, what? You're dating you dated Rachel? It could be a thing where it's like they made a pact. None of us are like, no Rachel. And so when they ask him like, who do we make a pact against? And he doesn't remember. It's like, how can you not remember making the pact? And it's just another pact that he's broken or something like that. And it doesn't have to be that exact circumstance.
It could even say, well, if you want it to lead to them realizing that something's up with Blossom, like it's kind of confirming, they could say like, who was the first girl you crushed on? You crushed on her so hard.
Oh, yeah.
You used to talk about her, and he's like, Blossom.
Blossom, man.
Yeah.
It's always been Blossom.
Yeah.
Super creepy.
No. He has to be like real cool about it. Like, no, guys, it's Blossom.
And another thing that popped up in my brain a few minutes ago, and I don't know if I love the idea.
Because we don't want the audience to hate Blossom yet. We want them to love her.
Yeah. So I think another way that we could shed doubt on Chaz's perspective, and again, I don't necessarily love the idea because I'm not a big fan of perpetuating negative stoner stereotypes, but maybe they're not smoking a cigarette outside. Maybe he's smoking a joint. And again, I don't know that I want to do that, but it does add an extra layer of like, well, is he a reliable narrator right now? Because he's not sober.
Yeah,
because again, I don't know if you want to go that route or not.
Yeah, I'm like a little one. I don't like you said, perpetuating that is just kind of like, it's not like, oh, that's overdone, Kevin. Let's not do that. It's more like, I'm not sure if I want to introduce
another element like that.
No, just drugs into PG-13 because I want to keep.
Oh, that's right.
I want to keep it PG-13 because I'm so sick of just everything to R.
No, totally.
So I'm not sure, but yeah, I know what you mean. Like they could just talk like stoners. Like I don't know if I ever see the American movie duo necessarily smoking weed.
Dude, you know, another one, another way to kind of like shed extra doubt on what he saw is maybe while he's up on his shoulders and it's like kind of blah blah blah, maybe he wears glasses and his glasses fall and he's kind of everything he's seeing is a little blurry.
You could do that.
Yeah, something like that.
You could also do something like it looks like Blossom is like rubbing his shoulders, and then Elmo can be like, yeah, Benny's got tight shoulders, something like that. Like, why is she rubbing his temples? That's his temples. Like, isn't that like
he's got a headache?
He's like, she works in hypnotherapy, dude. She's not hypnotizing him. She's just helping him or something. He's under a lot of stress, man. He's getting married. You wouldn't know anything about getting married.
Man, you need to grow up.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. I'll just write all that in the script. Done. Okay. So now is the debate. So for the next 12 minutes, roughly, change is scary, and for a moment, or a brief number of moments, the main character doubts the journey that he must take. Can he face the challenge? Does he have what it takes? Should he go all in? It's the last chance for our hero to chicken out. You can also use a double bump, which is like a second moment of, you better effing do this. That convinces him. So I think they'll debate in that Elmo will say, dude, that's outlandish. Yeah. You think, what are you talking about? We were just at the church. We would know if she's hypnotizing him. And then he can say, dude, I got 2 months of recon.
That's right.
Recon. And then it's like, yeah,
you're looking for something that ain't there.
Because you want the wanks to survive. That's what this is all about, isn't it? Yeah. You just can't let that go. Am I right? And no, dude. Just because we're the only 2 left.
How do you get 12 pages out of that? Or are you going to go double bump route?
Because they can, they can kind of have their conversation. And then if they go into a second scene, still doubting,
going to a new location,
they can maybe enter the house.
Oh, maybe the debate. Yeah, maybe the debate is extended as they're like kind of watching them interact or something.
I kind of like this idea of they're like, all right, man, like, yeah, let's do it. And then they open the door, and right there is Blossom, and we have the wind blowing in her hair, and she's like just extremely homely and just really polite, and it's just like, boys, let me take your coats, and it's not like evil. She's actually genuine, and she has good dialogue that establishes her as great. And then they're like, I don't know. And maybe Elmo's more drawn to the idea of, I don't know if we should, what are we going to do? Stop the wedding? Like, I don't know if we should do that, man. Sort of like, why? I don't know. And then the debate breaks into 2, I think, when they talk to Benny and they realize he forgot his first crush. I think that's their deliberate moment where they're like, nope, we got to end this shit. Because there has to be a break into 2 where they decide, we're going to end it. We have to stop this.
Just had like an image in my head. I don't know if there's any value in like Elmo being able to point at a past incident where like something very similar happened. Like maybe the last time a Wink got married, an important Wink got married, he had some other outlandish conspiracy brewing. It's like, you said the same thing about Bob and Julie, and look at them, they're perfectly happy, and they show them on the couch, and they're both just sitting there like sad and depressed, not talking to each other. Like,
dude, we could have funny. So much commentary on marriage.
I know, right?
Like, you could say like, you were running around telling everybody they're just pregnant. And what were they? They were pregnant, and they got triplets. And look at them now, like they're not happy. And they're like, they're literally sitting there.
Kids are like jumping all over them.
No kids. Oh, that's no kids. That's right. They got like their phone app that's the baby monitor, and they're just screaming, and they're like, the babysitter's not holding off too well tonight.
I like the idea that they're holding the baby monitor, like their house across the street, and they're just like waiting for the.
Yeah, man, I never even realized this could be a movie all about. I mean, I knew it, but. Okay, so
debate.
We're going to take a quick break here, guys. There's just way too much to get into. We're going to cut this, and we'll pick up on next week. Yo, guys, we're going to take a quick break. We'll catch you guys on next week's episode.